once you recognize that this is a deliberate tactic by our culture, then I no longer play into it. And by that, I mean, I've been called a grandma too. On a regular basis, people comment on how I look and how I used to be sexy and now I'm an old grandma and blah, blah, blah. And I know that I'm either supposed to burst into tears and feel destroyed by that, or I'm supposed to, in inverted commas, laugh at it. So I don't laugh at it, but neither does it remotely touch my sense of self. I see the game, I see the chessboard, I see the move way before the move gets played on me.
Welcome to Music Makes Us. I'm Kathleen Hanna, lead singer of the bands Bikini Kill and Le Tigre. And now I'm also a podcast host. On this show, I'm going to sit down with the most exciting musicians on the planet, and I'm going to get to talk to them about all kinds of things like snacks, perfect lyrics, unforgettable shows they've seen, treasured artifacts, and more. Everyone always says their podcast is for you, the listener, and that's totally true. But this is also for me. I'm looking for community and finding it in my fellow artists. My guest today is the absolutely unforgettable Shirley Manson, who for the past 30 years and counting has been the lead singer of the band Garbage. I had no idea what to expect when I was told I was going to get to interview Shirley. I'd met her briefly a few years back, and she seemed both goofy and cool, which made me really hope I'd get to see her again, and I'm glad I did. Up next, I get to talk in depth for the very first time with Shirley. Don't go anywhere. When Garbage released its self-titled debut in the mid-90s, the band became an overnight phenomenon with their distinctive blend of rock and pop and grunge and trip-hop. The band's sound and themes of its music were often moody and dark, and this darkness was always offset by the vitality and stylishly cool vocals provided by Shirley Manson. Whether she's angry or curious or looking for a good time, Shirley somehow always makes it sound like the song she's singing is taking place at night. Back in the 90s, I was all about anti-corporate DIY feminism, and Shirley was a major label rock star whose face graced the cover of a million magazines. So I kind of assumed we didn't have anything in common. But as you're going to hear, it turns out that was absolutely not the case. In our conversation, we talked about a ton of stuff, from her early days in Garbage to the band's latest album, Let All That We Imagine Be the Light, and lots more on top of that. At one point, I asked Shirley about a concert she's been to that she felt changed by, which was kind of weird because I felt like I was being changed as I listened to her talk. You may notice I'm a bit quieter than usual in this interview, and that's because I was in awe of Shirley Manson's self-assured mix of anger and compassion. I hope you enjoy her words as much as I did. So here we go.
I don't normally do this kind of thing very often, but when they asked me to do it with you, I was really, really thrilled and really excited. And I think very, very highly of you. And I feel even more strongly about you now that I'm 59, soon to be 60, than I did when I was younger. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. I wanted to brown nose your asshole a little before we got started.
But I'm supposed to do that to you because I'm the host.
Well, I beat you to it.
I do want to get to how we didn't meet and did meet, because I think it's really kind of interesting when I look back on it. We met on the set of an Alice Bag video called 77 that is about women only making 77 cents on the dollar that men make, and women of color making even less.
You said something really funny, which endeared you to me immediately, which was you were dressed up kind of as an old lady, and you had a grey wig on, and I don't know, you were in costume, you were in character, and the first thing you said to me as I walked up, you said, "I don't normally look like this." And I was like, yeah, I don't normally look like this either, because I was also in costume. But anyway, it was really endearing. I probably did say that I was a bit intimidated. I think that's probably fair. Because I, again, as I said at the very beginning of this conversation, I really admire you. Yeah, probably I'm like, I want her to like me. I don't want her to think I'm an arsehole.
We came up kind of at the same time. We never met each other. We're in very different kind of worlds in terms of the music business because I was on the underground, like DIY, no management. And you also came from a very punk background and from a very DIY background, being in Scotland, playing in a bunch of bands. And then this wild thing happens in, was it like 94?
Yeah.
You get a call that Butch Vig and the other guys in your band want to meet you, and you go to Wisconsin. Like, what was that? What did you think of Wisconsin? Or just America in general? Were you like, this is just the weirdest thing?
Well, I'd been to New York and Los Angeles before I went to Wisconsin. And I think I thought that Wisconsin would be like New York or Los Angeles. I just assumed, because I knew nothing about the country, that it would be similar. And of course, I get to the Midwest, and this was in 1994. It was very different from how it is now, even. But back then, it was much more isolated than I had expected. And there wasn't, at that time in Madison, Wisconsin, which is where the men in my band had a studio, there was no, like major museums, there was no major art galleries, there was no major library. And I was a wee bit taken aback by that. And I had no money. So I had to rely on other people to get me around. And that's frustrating. I was cut off from all my friends and family. I was with this band that I didn't know from Adam, and they were a lot older than I was. So their social circle were older people. And so I was a wee bit freaked out. I was sort of really unaccustomed to that kind of environment. Yeah, I was really cut off from my own life and it was creepy. In retrospect, I got really lucky that I got dropped in Madison, Wisconsin, because, of course, it's a much more progressive city than a lot of cities in the Midwest. So it could have been a lot worse, but I was definitely really freaked out. Now I look back on Madison, Wisconsin and go there to play now, and I love it and it's wonderful and it's really developed, but back then it was a different scene.
I wanted to talk a little bit about when you first
Hmm.
started writing, Let All That We Imagine Be the Light, and talk about how your writing process has changed. Because I can imagine you're not at first, you don't know your bandmates. I don't know if they came up with like some music and then they're like, write lyrics in your hotel, come back tomorrow, or like, what was that initial process, if you remember? Did you get in a rhythm with them and kind of figure out, okay, here's where I'm finding my voice in this band?
Well, it's a great question because there were so many components to how we ended up making that first record. And I have to underscore the fact that I had never written a song, I had never written a note, I'd never written a word of music in my life up to this point. But I had fibbed when I got auditioned for Garbage. They had said, "Do you write? Because we're looking for a fourth, writing partner." And
Yeah.
I just went, "Yeah, yeah, I write." And of course, I didn't. And very quickly found myself in a position where they were hoping that I would write. They had two or three songs that were pretty fleshed out. One would be Only Happy When It Rains, one would be Stupid Girl, and one was Vow. The gist of the songs was there. I fleshed out some of the lyrics, ad-libbed here, there, and added harmonies and whatnot. But that's kind of how we started. But then as the recording process continued, then they started giving me pieces of music to write to. I'd go back to my hotel room and I had to basically come up with what I guess you can now call the top line, vocals, melodies, words. I'm really aware now as an adult that I was writing to please them and their aesthetic. I had no developed aesthetic of my own because I'd never done it before. I had a rough idea pretty quickly of what it was that they liked, what kind of things that sort of, excited them. So that's kind of how it began for me.
That's such an interesting way to go about it. I feel like I can really picture you in a hotel room being like, what the fuck did I just get myself
Yeah,
into? And then being like, well, here I am and I'm going to do this shit. And then to have your first record be that record, and even if you were trying to please everybody, it had such far reach and did so well. Like, were you just shocked?
of course. I mean, we were all shocked. The whole world was shocked. I mean, nobody expected us to do anything ever. Not really. And certainly on paper, it looked like a disaster, because where I came from, like, first of all, music producers were considered like really uncool. We kind of looked down our noses at the idea of a producer because we had come out of the 80s where big production produced these ghastly, really over the top, overly produced records. And so on paper, to me, it looked like a disaster. And I certainly had no faith in myself at all. I was like, everybody's going to find out that I'm a sham. I don't write. I'm an idiot. Like, this is a nightmare in some regards. And so, yeah, I was really, really taken aback when it took off at the speed at which it took off and at the level that it took off.
It's so hard to hear you say that you felt like a sham because I felt like a sham too, like during the same time period. You know what I
Yeah, but
mean?
that's
Like,
wild because to hear that coming from you seems
but that's
insane
wild
to
to hear
me.
that coming from you. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying is that it's like, I feel like had we known each other, it would have been really fucking interesting and really fucking cool. Because I think people looked at me as like some kind of authentic, like loud, obnoxious feminist punk who
Super intelligent,
well, I didn't
super
feel like that, but
disobedient.
I used to have like a feminist academic. This feminist academic came to a show one time and afterwards was like talking to me about something. And I like mentioned a book and I was like, oh, well, in like June Jordan's poetry or like, whatever thing I was talking about. And she was like, you read? I was like, yeah. You have to read to like write lyrics and then read them and sing them in the
But
studio.
that's highly unusual. I mean, you're laughing at yourself, but again, intellectualism coupled with punk rock was practically unheard of. And so at that time, again, like women were encouraged to not display their intelligence, not to have their intelligence or academia be part and parcel of who they were as artists. To me, it always seemed like women were sort of expected to keep their mouth shut, smile a lot, and be sexy and be, beguiling, even in punk rock.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I totally felt that way in my everyday life. And so then my punk life was, I thought, oh, this is the escape hatch to that. And then it wasn't because the same stupid racism, sexism, classism, homophobia, transphobia, it's everywhere. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of it is capitalism.
Well, of course it is, yeah.
You can have people maybe in the mainstream who are competing to, wear the tiniest shorts or have the best hair or like whatever. But then you have people on the underground who sometimes are like competing to have their tickets be the least expensive. But then that leads to people who have money being in punk rock because people who
Yeah.
don't have money can't sell tickets for $5 for the rest of their universal life. But I did want to talk to you, get back to songwriting in that Let All That We Imagine Be the Light is really amazing to me. And I did want to thank you so much for speaking out about Gaza and the rise of fascism and what's going on in Iran. It makes me feel so less alone as a musician who's, also engaged with the world like a normal ass fucking person. But I see you get shit for it all the time and it really bothers me. And I just want to say I'm with you and thank you because you've made me feel like seen and heard. And so thank you. And I could feel all of the stuff that's going on now in the world come out in this record, but in kind of a very organic way. And so I really wanted to talk about the songwriting for your most recent record. Do you ever start with dummy lyrics? Like, do you ever just go, "Wah, ba, da, ba, 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 do," like in a song and then try to figure out what the lyrics are? Or do you
Yeah.
come in with a piece of writing? Or for this record, what was it like?
Well, this record is kind of a companion piece to the record that came before it, which was No Gods, No Masters, which arguably is the most political of all our records. And I was really full of fear making No Gods, No Masters. And I kind of sort of spewed out all my fear and outrage into No Gods, No Masters. And then, of course, it fell on completely deaf ears because the world just continued and injustice continued to prevail and so on and so forth. So coming into Let All That We Imagine Be the Light, I had just recovered basically from 2 complete hip replacements, which made me feel really old, really over, really vulnerable. And I didn't feel particularly feisty or able to be a sort of warrior spirit. Instead, I felt like I was trembling with fragility and concern. And I realized that if I try to hone the same sort of tone as No Gods, No Masters, I was going to really get myself into a precarious position as an artist, as a human being. And I realized also that the world had gotten so visibly crazy and chaotic. I wanted to put a calm energy into the world instead of another frenetic voice. And I've realized that the only way forward for me was to really employ the vast expanse of love at my disposal that I had, that I could pour out into the world. It was the only control I had, was the energy that I chose to share as an artist with my band and with the world. And that's what I tried to do. I tried to put a lot of love into everything I did, tenderness, which is, these are not natural instincts for me. Like, I'm just a fighter. When I'm scared, I like to fight. You know what I mean? And instead, this time I'm like, okay, you're scared. You need to love. That's how you get through this. This is how you will move forward. It's the only way. And so that was kind of my head space that I tried to remain in whilst making this record.
I feel like it's just as political as No Gods, No Masters is just as political, but it's like there is a thing of compassion and calm running through it that's like, we're going to do this together. And there's a hopefulness. I mean, I could barely listen to Chinese Fire Horse because I related to it. I related to it so much. Like the line, I'm not dead, I'm not done.
The fact that you relate to that song really means a lot to me. The idea that women for centuries have been told that our entire worth as human beings is tied up with our youth and our beauty, our agency is within these parameters over which we have no control, is deliberate, you know. And the older and older I get, the more outraged I am by how many women get shut up and stymied by this idea that we are old, in inverted commas. You know, if you're a visual artist, you can make art until you drop dead. I don't see why the same can't be applied to female artists, to male artists for that matter, to any artist, to any musician, any ballet dancer. Why can't we keep being our creative? You know, I think we can. And I refuse to allow this society to tell me I cannot. And one of the most amazing things you said to me that first day, I don't know if you remember this either, but just as we were leaving, the video shoot for Alice Bag, you and I were swapping contact numbers. I don't know if you remember this, but you said to me, you know, I've heard a few things that you've had to say about aging in this music business of ours. And I just want to let you know that there was one thing that you said in particular about just doing the work. Just keep doing the work. And that
Yeah.
really inspired me. And you
Yeah.
saying that to me, it felt like you were giving me sustenance, you know, nutrients, if that makes any sense. I'm like, oh,
No,
like we're on the
that's so
same
flattering and
page.
touching.
You know,
Yeah.
it really stuck with me that someone that I admire, you, who is to me a wonderful, amazing, creative, brave
Keep it
artist who
coming. Keep it coming.
continues to break the mold found value in that small directive,
Yeah.
and that's what I hope any woman will get from me. If I have spent any time on this earth, if it is, if that tiny little phrase has helped any of us continue to fight ageism and continue to be creative, then I have used my time on earth wisely.
I remember thinking, well, why is it that, people who work in different fields are like, then music are lauded for doing the same thing for 25, 30 years. And I feel like, with us, it's like we're in our 50s and it's like, I did an interview with Laura Snapes. I don't know if you've ever met her.
I haven't, but I know who you're talking about.
She's great. I like a lot of her work. And she interviewed me for The Guardian. And we talked about music. We talked about sexism. I think ageism came up. And then when the article came out, it was, on the front page of The Guardian, they have like this little blue tab in the corner that's like maybe for the art section or something. And it'll just have like kind of a, cheeky headline, like almost a clickbaity thing. And it said,
Yeah.
Kathleen Hanna, riot grandma.
Oh,
And I was like, but I laughed at it because I was like, what am I going to do? I knew she didn't have anything to do with it and was probably mortified. But how much does humor play into you being able to just get through a day? Because I know we're both getting the same kind of pushback, or we both also have. I think one thing that people don't realize is that, all of the sexism and the ageism, and then for a lot of other people, the racism and the classism and stuff that people have to deal with, like it's cumulative. Like all this stuff I went through in the 90s that was very hellacious affects the way that I am in the world today when a sound person comes up and treats me like I don't know what I'm doing. Like that person might get the rage of the 100 other guys who did that to me, who I was just too exhausted to say anything. But with the riot grandma thing, it's like, picking your battles of being like, how much do I really care? It's too late. There's nothing I can do. I'm going to move on to something that I can actually change.
well, see,
It's insulting, but I feel like you would get on the phone.
well, no, I just look at this differently
I want to
because
hear.
I feel like we are deliberately stripped of our agency as we get older because they don't want us to be given any more respect, any more weight. They don't want us to get above our station and believe that actually we are professionals who are incredibly skilled at what we do. So once you recognize that this is a deliberate tactic by our culture, then I no longer play into it. And by that I mean, I've been called a grandma too. On a regular basis, people comment on how I look and how I used to be sexy and now I'm an old grandma and blah, blah, blah. And I know that I'm either supposed to burst into tears and feel destroyed by that, or I'm supposed to, in inverted commas, laugh at it. So I don't laugh at it, but neither does it remotely touch my sense of self. It doesn't do a thing to me anymore because I see what's at play. I see the game. I see the chessboard. I see the move way before the move gets played on me. And then once you are in control of yourself with regards to how you view it, then they can't touch you. I'm no
Yeah.
longer going to laugh or smile for you. I am done. I'm tired. I
Right.
see your bullshit and I'm tired of it and I'm not going to laugh. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Oh, I think it's a good thing. That's kind of why I asked you, because my friends were like, you should be really mad. And I didn't feel mad. I think when sexism and ageism becomes so commonplace and boring that you're just like rolling your eyes, like, this is just embarrassing on you. It makes it way easier for me to not get like, oh, I have to do something, because it's honestly, it's that energy sap of like all the extra work of like the makeup, the hair, the looking a certain way, the laughing when they insult you, the trying to get over it. And I feel like I'm just trying to dump some of that extra work. And sometimes I just laugh and push something out of my way so that I can just move on.
Yeah, my
you
problem
know?
is though, I cannot laugh because I know it's coming down the pike towards my niece. I honestly do not care what people say about me anymore. I couldn't care less.
Less.
However, I do care about my niece. I do care about my goddaughter. I do care about my band's young daughters. I care. And so I just cannot buy into that game, which is women are expected to laugh it off as though it's nothing. It is something. And you know why?
Yeah.
Because it's dripping downhill onto our young girls. And I am fucking sick and tired of young girls being treated like they're disposable fucking trash.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of it.
I think one of the things that you're bringing up that's so interesting in these specific times is that young girls are treated like their only thing is their sexuality and they're disposable and they're trash. And what is their rating on scale of 1 to 10 from the time they're 3 years old? And then when you're over 30 or 40, it's like, again, you're in the garbage. So it's kind of like we're just objectified and in the garbage can the whole time. And once you realize that, you
Exactly.
have you have to like just be like, okay, well, I can do whatever. Like in a way, there's this freedom of like, well, I can just do whatever I want then because this is all total crappy bullshit. I feel like on Let All That We Imagine Be the Light, you really successfully kind of let me ask you, do you feel like you were able to turn kind of the sexism and the ageism into fuel as opposed to
Well,
something that hurt you?
I mean, having you, Kathleen Hanna, say to me that you really related to Chinese Fire Horse, my job is done as far as I'm concerned, you know. And the response I've had, like Jane Weedland from the Go-Go's, for a random example, she either came to our show a couple of months ago and somebody said to me, I was watching Jane Weedland during your show. She sang every word to Chinese Fire Horse. And that was such a gift, you know. I'm like, that is so cool. My job here is done.
And so when you were writing this record, I know you were in bed a lot of the time. Were you jotting stuff down in a journal? Like, how
Okay,
did
I
the
have to
lyrics
interrupt
come
you. I
about?
have to interrupt you. Sorry.
Yeah.
So there's one other thing I needed to tell you before I forget. So when I was home in Scotland a couple of weeks ago, I had a memorial for my dad. My dad just died in October, and we had a big memorial for him on the 31st of January. And my best friend had a little party after it, and my niece was there. My niece is 15 years old. And she was not having any of it. She was bored of all of us, not happy, you know, it kind of like just keeping herself to herself. And then they played Rebel Girl. And my baby girl got up off her seat and she danced like she had no idea that I knew who even Bikini Kill was. And she was real, I could see it in her face, just the empowered spirit of that song. Just I saw her go into her little body, and all of a sudden she was like fierce and full and ready for anything that the world was going to throw at her. And I was like, holy shit, this is like watching me when I was a kid with Siouxsie Sioux. She was having exactly the same experience, and I swear to God, I'd like nearly burst out crying. It was so fucking cool to see. And these are whole new generations of girls who keep listening to the records you make. And that is wild and amazing and powerful. You know, I could cry actually just even saying that to you right now because I'm looking at your wee
Well, I
face
feel
on the
like I
screen.
vicariously get to see it like through your eyes. I mean, I think
Yeah.
one of the coolest things about making music is like, it takes up a lot of space. It's pretty cheap to make when you think about it, I'll be told. It's a
Kinda.
really Yeah, but I mean, in terms of like reproduction and like getting it into people's hands, like there's only some people who are going to go to see Louise Bourgeois. I'm saying her last name, I'm butchering it.
It's
Um,
perfect.
Louise Bourgeois show at the Tate. And then there's like so many more people who are going to listen to a garbage song that someone put on a mix for them. You know what I mean? It's also with like, with CDs, cassettes, records, streaming, like the whole thing. We're a part of youth culture. Music is a part of youth culture. No matter what age that we're at, kids are absorbing our stuff into their stuff, which is really great and creates these
Yeah.
amazing musical conversations. And I was actually going to ask you, you're leading me into all the questions. If you remember the first time you heard Susie and the Banshees and like what that felt like.
I do remember it was at my best friend's house, Sarah Griffith, who's now a pretty well known British actress. under a different name. She's Sarah Stewart, but she was Sarah Griffith back then. And she had Happy House on 7 inch by Susie and the Banshees. And she was flipping records and she put on Drop Dead Celebration, which is the B-side to Happy House. And I just remember, like, I was just stunned into some kind of weird trance where you feel like you're stuck in this tunnel of reception between you and the music you're listening to, and you're engulfed in this weird energy that fills you up in a way that nothing has ever filled you up before. I don't know why I responded that way, really, even to this day. I don't know why her, why that record, why that band, but something really shifted in me from that day forward. And she remains someone really like powerful and moving in my life. Sometimes when I'm in the studio and I'm feeling a wee bit lost, I will just try and think of how I felt when I was really young and I needed her so bad.
Okay, now you're going to make
And
me cry.
it,
You explained it so well. It was almost like being in a tunnel, like the architecture of sound, like the way that sound can kind of reconstruct the atoms around us and create a space for weirdos. And I mean, I definitely think you're a weirdo, Shirley Manson. You're a total original weirdo.
Mwah. Thank you, Kathleen Hanna. So are you, and I love you for it.
Have you ever been to a live concert that you felt like you left and you're like, I'm a different person now?
There have been several shows in my life that have done that. I mean, there are hundreds of them, I think, to be honest. But the two that are jumping to my mind, one was when Garbage was having some, we were having some interpersonal problems. And I was like wanting to quit. And I know other members of the band wanted to quit too. It was just a bad moment in our
Yeah.
existence together. But I traveled to Milwaukee and I saw Nine Inch Nails play. And it was like I felt like a baby bird getting fed worms. You know, I just felt reinvigorated and wanted to go back into the studio immediately. It was so inspiring to me.
You have had an incredible, like a long career as a musician, and it's a rare thing. I'm wondering how it feels to you when people say you're iconic or a legend.
Bizarre. It's bizarre. Like for so long, I didn't feel like I related even remotely to this idea of me being a successful musician. And then I realized that I was absolutely doing myself a disservice, and not just myself a disservice, but every woman in the music industry a disservice. So now
Yes.
I'm aware that I am an elder, of which I am extremely proud, that I have managed to continue being creative for so long now that I have reached elder status. And to me, that is such an extraordinary accomplishment for any woman. And that I am one of those women, it is surreal and surprising to me, but also a role that I do take quite seriously now. You know, I mean, I'm not saying that I take it seriously like I'm like, yeah, I'm a legend or I'm iconic. I don't mean it that way. I don't
I
mean
like
it
how
that
you
way.
bring out your American accent just for that part.
But what I mean by that is, you know, I think it's important, particularly for women, because we haven't had the same opportunities necessarily as our male counterparts, particularly as elder women, to say, thank you, I'm grateful. This took a lot of fucking work. I risked a lot and I took a lot of abuse. And it was never easy and it was exhausting, but it was also fucking spectacular. And that opportunity is out there for all of us if we just continue to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah. I I'm just like saying yes to everything. I'm like, if somebody says that to me, I always feel super embarrassed. And I was taking it kind of as an insult. Like I was taking it in this ageist way of like, sort of like the lyric and the thing of like, I'm not dead, I'm not done in your song. And it's like, I would kind of feel like, well, if when you say I'm a legend, it sounds like I'm a historical figure who's like done making stuff. And I'm not done making my stuff. I'm just in cougar puberty right now and I'm ready for my peak.
There is
But
no peak. I guess that's my point. There is no
I
peak,
know.
right?
Well, what's so interesting to me is that I just feel like I'm just getting started. And so, and I've just like also learned a lot of lessons that you've learned. Like, hey, it's okay. Everyone, if I take credit for anything I do, tons of people will be like, you don't deserve it. Shut up. But
Mm.
who the fuck cares? It's like, we do have to model behavior for other people who, are going to feel like imposters. I felt like I was a performance artist playing a feminist in a band for the first 7 years of my career. So for me to take ownership and be like, hey, I've done some cool stuff. Me and my friends have done some cool stuff, and like there's a couple songs I've written I really like. And, I think I put on a really great live show and I'm really, really proud of that. And I've worked really hard, but I also get to do the best fucking job in the world, no doubt. I think I feel very fortunate that I'm still making things and that people still at all want to, hear anything I have to sing or make. So I feel really thrilled I get to do it.
Well, I think what I have learned is our work as human beings on this earth is a continuum. And I know I'm stating the obvious, but when you start out as a young artist, you think there's some kind of peak to reach, and then once you reach that peak, you're traveling back down the hill again. And I guess what I have learned over the last couple of decades actually is it's all a continuum. And the first part of my career was great because it was exciting and it was fast and furious, but I wasn't developed as a human being yet. I didn't enjoy it the way perhaps I could have. And in my latter part of my career, I feel like I'm enjoying it more. I am getting better at what I do. I'm a better singer, I'm a better writer. I have production instincts which are better than they ever were. I'm learning my craft as I go. I'm always learning. And the idea of success or lack thereof is so silly at this point. And I think that has given me such freedom in my creative life and in my personal life. Even if you're doing things slower, even if you're not kicking as high, even if you don't look as fucking cute in that fucking in your panties, it's just different and it's still valuable and it's still important. And that is, for me, it's really invigorating and really encouraging.
Yeah, well, there's no peak, it's a ride. We're on like a weird ride and you learn parts from all of it. I've learned so much more from times where I thought it was going to be a sold out show and 50 people showed up and I had to just ride the wave of that night and I totally had a great time anyway. Like when you learn about yourself as a performer that if you're performing for 20,000 people or you're performing for 10, it's the same deal. Like you're going to give what you have to give that night, as much as you can and like learn how to enjoy all different situations and learn from them and learn from, I had a sort of peak in the 90s, but like I didn't even acknowledge it because I knew if I acknowledged it, I'd be stuck there and I didn't care. Like I just didn't because I was about doing the work. And I think if you care about the work, it comes out. But I know Debbie Harry asked you to induct her into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. How did that happen? Did you get a call? Did you get an email? Like, did you jump up and down?
Of course I did. I mean, I love Debbie so much as an artist and as a human being. She's been extraordinarily generous to me over the years and still is. She'll still reach out if she thinks there's an issue or there's something to celebrate or. So yeah, of course I don't use this word very often because I think it's overused, but I was very honored to be asked to do that. And any opportunity to publicly declare my adoration for Debbie Harry is most welcome in my book. I think she's an unsung hero. Even though she gets so much love, it's not even a percentage of what she deserves and what she's had to endure and how in her 80th year she's still this phenomenal force. It's miraculous and beautiful and amazing.
Yeah, anybody listening who has not gone on a YouTube deep dive watching Debbie Harry solo, Debbie Harry with Blondie, do it, because I did it last week and I was like, I can't believe that at live shows she just opens her mouth and it just comes out the way it comes out. Like it's like witnessing some sort of like rainbow riding a unicorn while eating donuts situation. Like,
Yeah, she's still an amazing singer. It's wild.
yeah, she's such an amazing singer. And, you know, the songs are so well crafted and so suited for her. And so, like, I mean, everybody looks up to Debbie Harry. Like, everybody I know in music is like, yes.
She's deserving of that because she's so generous too to other artists and to women, and in particular, she's so willing to share space with other women. And you know this better than anyone. Like, there's not that many women that do what we do who are genuinely invested in sharing the space with another wildcat.
I think there's a lot more now. I've been like
There's a
reaching out
lot
and meeting
more now.
people, and I'm like, I'm getting kind of the respect and love that I didn't get in the 90s, because it was a lot about like just being hated and misrepresented
Yeah.
and all of that kind of stuff, which is like
It was so
whatever.
horrible back then. It's so
Yeah,
much better
it
now.
was really intense, and the crap that you got. I kind of wish that we would have known each other and we could have called each other from payphones on tour.
I really wish we had.
Like, and just been like,
It would have been so amazing.
well, because I think you were considered like the model. Like, people thought you were like a high fashion model who like lucked her way into this band. And it was like, I was like, she's actually a really good singer and she writes really good lyrics. And then I was like the weird, like self-righteous jerk who was like destroying the punk scene by hating on men. And I think we both had different crosses we had to bear, but they were both rooted in sexism and also in just like people just saying stuff out of their asses without knowing anything, and then people believing those stereotypes. And I think it's really easy to do that in the framework of institutionalized sexism, and it's easy for us to do it to each other and to have misrepresentative ideas of each other. So it's so great to talk to you in person and just be like, whoa, we have so much in common.
We really do. The new generations of artists, it's so beautiful to watch because they are so much more empowered than we ever were. And, everybody talks about the halcyon days of the 90s, and certainly musically it was, but it was brutal on women. It was a very sexist scene, unfortunately. That's life, and we all survived.
So you participated in the opening of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's Revolutionary Women in Music Left of Center exhibit. How did that event and exhibit affect you? And how did it feel seeing your own artifacts, like artifacts from your career, like hanging on a museum wall?
I've seen it once before, which was in Edinburgh, where they ran a big exhibition on Scottish music. So I had that experience before, but it was a real thrill. I was really just moved to be part of the whole, to just play a tiny speck of dust in the history of what women have brought into music, and in particular in rock and roll. It's the greatest honor of my life. I mean, it sounds so cliche, but it's so true. I was so blown away by seeing Suzanne Vega, like she was there with me, so was Jane Wiedlin, and seeing their eyes fill up with tears when they stood in front of cabinets that were filled with their artifacts. It was just such a profound, moving experience, and realizing still how far we have to come. We still have to keep pushing because it is still not an equal playing field yet for women. There's no state in America that has true equality yet, and music can play a big role in securing rights for women. It has played a big role. It will continue to play a role. This is why governments are so frightened of musicians, because musicians are able to touch people in ways that politicians cannot. So, yeah, I was proud and moved and excited and also rageful. And that's my go to emotion, as you can imagine. Um, it annoys me that women are still not necessarily paid the same for doing the same fucking shitty job. It annoys me that women are held to certain standards that men are not. It's not right, and I want it to change. And I'm so privileged to be part of the rock and roll community. They're my favorite people. Speaking to someone like you, speaking to Karen O, speaking to Peaches, speaking to anybody that does what we do is fucking cool and exciting and amazing. And yeah, I'm a lucky cunt.
Well, as singers, we're also oftentimes we're like apart from everyone. There's just like weird things that happen when you're in that kind of leadership role or perceived leadership role that can be really psychologically twisted. And so it's really nice to get to talk to other women that I feel like I just have a shorthand with you. Like I don't have to, I don't even have to explain because
Yeah.
I think you know. But so, okay, I made up this game. It's very short and
Uh-huh.
it's and
Let's go.
it's really fun. Let's do it. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a picture of an item from the vault at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which I got to visit, and I saw Aretha Franklin's dress from her first performance at Radio City Music Hall, and I was really moved by that. So we're going to see an image of some kind of item, and we don't have to say,
Patti Smith.
"Oh my God." Okay, well, I guess this was a great time with you, Shirley. Okay, why do we think this is Patti Smith? Let's describe what it is. It's a pair of boots, like kind of combat-y boots, kind of witchy boots with like duct tape on it, and then like a black shiny jacket that says the Braves.
Yep.
And so you automatically said Patti Smith. I would not have guessed that. Why do you think that this is Patti Smith?
Because I've seen photographs of her wearing it, but also this is a real like fancy pants answer. But Tina Weymouth took a Braves jacket and put it over my shoulders when I was recording with my middle band. So I have three bands in my life, and so I was in a band called Good Brothers Mackenzie. Then I was in a band called Angelfish. When I was in Angelfish, I was recording a record with Chris Frantz and Tina Weymouth. And when I was recording my vocals, Tina would come into the vocal booth and drape this Braves jacket over me, and she would say, "That's Patty's vibes," and she would leave the room. And
That's
so,
Patty's vibes.
yeah, and so that's how I know that's Patti Smith's gear.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Well, the game's over now.
That's the game. I smoked that game.
Okay. Most people will be like, I think that might be an outfit that someone from the B-52s wore. And then we're like, or it's the Singer of Delight. And then we'll like have to get the audio cue but you don't need that because you're Shirley Manson and you can see anything. I bet we could probably show you any of Bjork's outfits and you'd be like, Bjork.
I mean, to be fair, I know a lot of people talk about Patti Smith, and she's become de rigueur these days. But I've studied Patti Smith since I was a teenager, and I'm very, very serious in my musical devotion to her. She has been one of the few women that I really have consistently turned to for inspiration and for comfort. And Patti, Susie, Debbie, Stevie Nicks, Nico, Marianne Faithfull. They're sort of like, that's my clutch of women artists.
I mean, hearing her spoken word when I was, just getting started in my first band when I was 19 was like massive for me. Just that because I was doing spoken word before I was a musician. And so I was just like, oh, and also just that she could tackle any subject matter. Like there was nothing, she could be a character. She could make a song about a book. Like I felt like there was not the thing of like.
And genderless.
Yeah.
She felt
was like, I don't have to fit into any kind of one thing. And that she was very about the capital A art of it and is very capital A an artist without feeling that also stands for asshole. But I grew up or came up of age around a bunch of guys who were like, we're the real artists, and I always sort of was like, well, I can't call myself an artist. I can't, because I don't want to be like those gross outs or whatever. And then I would see someone like Patti Smith, whose artistry is so integral to her as a human being and the way that she just wears herself in life is incredible. I've been lucky enough to I used to live in the same neighborhood as her, and I would see her walk around and I would just be like, I'm not going to bug her. She's given me enough. I do want to read the card. I'm going to get you to do it since you're the Patti expert.
This artist, who's also a National Book Award winner, wore these boots on and off stage in the mid-1970s and the jacket on tour in support of her debut studio album.
So that was our clue that we didn't need because you got it.
Oh, priceless. That was the clue. Amazing.
So let's hear the audio clue. I mean, all we needed was one note, right?
Yeah, one note. We'd have done it.
Jesus died for somebody's sins. Sorry. You, Shirley Manson, have won a new car. You, you are the only person who's gotten it on the first guess right away. So that's a wrap on my career as a podcaster. I'm done. I can just
That's amazing.
Put my bun away in the closet and move on with my life.
No, I'd miss it.
It's been so wonderful talking to you
too, Kathleen.
And I want to hear more singing secrets. Hopefully we can catch up again later.
That would be amazing.
That's it for this episode. Thank you so much to my guest, Shirley Manson. For more about Music Makes Us, you can follow the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And subscribe to future windows on Substack for exclusive content. Music Makes Us is a production of Radiotopia and Talkhouse for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The production team includes Jocelyn Gonzalez and Morgan Flannery of PRX Productions, Shelby Morrison, Jenny Thomas, Melanie Wiggins, and Risa Gurkey, with special thanks to Dawn Waite, Sarah Deely, and Ben Adair. Yuri Lasorda is the showrunner, and Nick Dawson is our editor. Executive producers are Liz Peshkus, Ian Wheeler, Audrey Mardovich, and Uli Boita-Cohen. Publicity is led by J.R. Johnson, Sarah Avron, and David Gatrone. And on the marketing team, Mike Russo, Maggie Gorville, and Carter Lou McElroy. We'll be back soon with more Music Makes Us. Tell all your friends and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.